I don't even know why she even bothered showing up. Like, I think she knew in her heart of hearts that this man was not gonna ever propose. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, and today I am back with yet another review. And today we are finally going to be reviewing the latest Netflix show, or I guess Netflix reality TV show drama, The Ultimatum. So this actually came out, I think, sometime in April. It's now May. And I actually got to watch it as soon as it dropped, but I just was still processing my thoughts about everything, was talking to my friends about it too, getting their input, and I was just trying to formulate, like, what the heck did I actually watch? Like, it was only the first season, mind you, and I was like, what is this? Who came up with this mess? Y'all were clearly a very messy person. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that this doesn't end up being nearly as long as my Love is Blind review, because that video, oh god, that took me a couple hours to finish, y'all. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop rambling, because that's the reason that that other video took me that long to even put up. Not surprising at all. This was actually created by the same people that came out with Love is Blind. So they was just interested in being extra messy with this one, probably. But the whole gist of the show was pretty much couples that are or have reached a point in their relationship where one individual wants to get married or thinks that they're ready for marriage, wants to make that step, but the other doesn't want to yet. They feel like either they're not ready or that they're gonna miss out on something. And for those people, I have my thoughts, but I'm gonna save it. But pretty much they've reached a point where they're at a crossroads and they're giving the other person the ultimatum. Okay, the person who wants to get married is giving the ultimatum to the other individual. It's like, hey, we're gonna go on this show. The whole gist is for each couple to go out at the beginning of the show, mix and mingle with other people from other couples, and they're pretty much gonna decide at the end of this period who they want to date for about 3 weeks, or, you know, live with. And then after those 3 weeks, they have another 3 weeks back with their original partner. And then after that period, the couples would then have to tell each other what their decision is, if they're going to propose, get married, or do they go their separate ways. So yeah, so from that, I think you guys can gather how messy this show was, even before it even, you know, went on. I think it was at the end of Love is Blind season 2, they actually came out and was like, hey, we have another show idea, and they basically told us what we were gonna see, and I was like, oh no. You know what I mean? Even though it was a recipe for disaster, it was a recipe for a good old-fashioned entertainment. So I'm gonna go through really quickly and let you guys know the couples' names, and then I'm going to go into each individual couple, who they ended up picking for the 3-week trial period of dating, living with another person, yada yada, and then pretty much what their decision was at the end of the whole 6-week time frame. For the most part, I have to let you guys know right off the bat, most of these couples had only been together for like maybe 2.5 years max. At least when they were asked how long they've been together, that was typically the answer. So to me, because I've been with my boyfriend for like 6 years, it seems a little kind of like crazy to me that someone my age would be rushing to get married to someone after just 2 years of dating. That's just me. I know some people are just like, well, when you know, you know. But to me, it's like, do you really know the person after just 2 years? It's like, it's still better than a month, but at the same time, it's like, just 2 years. I don't understand why you forcing them to go down the aisle, you know? But that's just my opinion. Let's get through these couples. So first we have Rey and Zay, Colby and Madelyn, then Randall and Shanique, and then we have Alexis and Hunter, Nathan and Lauren, and April and Jake. The first couple, I think I'm just probably gonna stick in the same order just so we don't get lost here. Like I said, pretty much the first couple was Rey and Zay, right? So Rey was the one that gave the ultimatum, and Zay pretty much came along, was dragged along, okay, and was like, okay, I guess I'll try to make the most of the situation, blah, 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 right? So Rey ends up picking Jake for the trial period, and then Zay ends up picking Shanique for the trial dating period. So really and truly, I think that their issues kind of got worse throughout the show in terms of Rey and Zay, not necessarily the whole dating part of it. I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but I want to quickly talk about their issues as like a couple. Why I think honestly this was probably a good thing in disguise that they came on the show. It pretty much showed or held up a mirror to their relationship to show them that they really shouldn't be together, and let alone be even thinking about marriage at this point, you know what I mean? So really and truly, I think that Rey, she definitely has a problem with speaking up for herself, and also Zay is very immature. I'm just gonna be honest. He does not like to approach things with his head on straight, and on top of that, he likes to approach things as soon as they come up. He's that type of person. So if someone doesn't necessarily want to talk about it or deal with it right now, he has a problem with it. And you know, eventually we see that ends up being the reason that they break up. But we're just gonna talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I want to quickly talk about the whole Rey and Jake situation. I definitely think they did something. I'm just gonna be honest. I think Shanique and Zay, they ended up doing some things too, because Shanique was kind of hurt because of Randall, but we're gonna hop into that a little bit later in the video. But I think that Rey and Jake were definitely a better match than her with Zay, who obviously was her boyfriend at the time when they came into the show. But I think that neither of them really knew what they wanted. Even though they were a better match, I think both of them were not really serious like about anything. Literally, Jake had a whole video that, you know, his girlfriend ended up finding on his phone of Rey shaking her butt at the club. And I'm just like, first of all, even if she went through your phone, don't get me wrong, that's wrong, but why is you filming that? You know what I mean? So like I said, I just don't think either of them took the whole relationship thing very serious. I know Rey was the one that gave the ultimatum, and Zay, like I said, was immature, but I really don't think she was even interested in getting married. I think she just thought, oh, let's take the next step. You know, that type of way. I don't think she was actually mentally ready for what that step would mean. When it came to the end, pretty much before they even got to the part where you decide if you want to propose or go your separate ways, they ended up breaking up because Zay was like, hey, we need to talk about this like right now. Like, I am prepared to get married, yada yada. But Rey was like, I don't feel like having this conversation right now. Which, you know, for me, I can understand, because I'm that type of person. It's like, if I don't feel like talking about it, I just don't feel like talking about it, and I'm gonna let you know. So when you have people that really just want to get things done right then and there, I get irritated, you know, with people like that. So that's why I think that whole thing just kind of imploded on itself. And also, like I said, when it came to Zay, he was very immature, and when Rey said, hey, I don't really want to talk about this right now, he just took that to heart and decided to leave for hours, not answering his phone or anything, and then just comes back and is like, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, what? Like, are we really having this conversation right now? So the immaturity level with Zay was just out of this world ridiculous. So I understood why they broke up, but at the same time, I was like, this could have really been done before even getting on this show. Like, y'all really didn't need to get on this show to know that y'all weren't good for each other. Regardless, they broke up before we even got to the whole, like, are we gonna get engaged or not, period, like all the other couples. Moving on to Colby and Madelyn. So Colby was the one that gave the ultimatum, but Madelyn was kind of the one, when I said at the beginning that some people were saying that they were gonna, or at least they felt like they were gonna miss out on dating and seeing what else or who else is out there if they got married. So that was very interesting that she presented that thought and idea. Like, she felt like she was gonna be missing out. And I feel like people that have that approach to life, they're the type of people that's never gonna be happy. They're never gonna be happy with their life. It doesn't matter what happens in it, how many good things happen to them, how many good people come into their life. They will never be fully satisfied with just one person. You're gonna always be looking and searching for something, and that, I think, in itself is you know, like, you don't want that in your life, you know? So when Colby was pretty much the one that was kind of pressuring her to get married, it was just so like, Colby, I really think you should leave. I'm just gonna be honest. I think, to be real with y'all, all the couples on this show just needed to break up. I'm just gonna be real. I think this show was so unnecessary. They picked the most broken couples, in my opinion, but whatever. I'm gonna move on from that. Pretty much, like I was saying, Madelyn felt as though she was gonna be settling if she decided to get married to Colby, but you know, either way. So originally Colby was going to go with Lauren because he felt like they had a connection, but then Nathan, okay, the original boyfriend, he decided to propose after he looks at Madelyn and is like, yeah, I'm gonna go with you, I'm gonna pick you. But in his mind, I guess, because Colby's picking my woman, I feel like I need to propose. So it was just really weird. And it was after another guy had proposed and another couple got engaged. So it was just kind of like, are you doing it because you actually want to, or you feel like you need to in this moment so that your girlfriend, or you don't have to see your girlfriend be with another man? It was just very strange to me. I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. Colby goes with April, and then Madelyn ends up picking Randall. Colby and April, there weren't any sparks. Like I said, they pretty much just picked each other out of default because April wanted someone else, but like I said, that was the guy that was a part of the other couple that proposed before Nathan and Lauren. So hopefully you guys are following along with me, because I know that got kind of confusing just now. Either way, so they picked each other by default, so there wasn't really any sparks there. It was just kind of more like a friendship. But with Madelyn and Randall, it seemed a little bit more flirtatious. They were really kind of into each other, or at least I feel like Madelyn was way more into Randall than Randall was with Madelyn. I'm just gonna be honest. She made a big deal about it to Shanique, about, you know, Randall kissing her, which I think was very much. It was a lot. It was a bit much to me. I feel like, yes, you should be honest with that person and say, oh, he was interested in me romantically and he kissed me. You should know. It came across as I'm putting it in your face, like I'm shoving it in your face. You know what I mean? So it was just very ugh to me. Like, I just did not like Madelyn in the slightest. She was probably the one character I could not stand on this show. I'm just gonna be real. From the beginning, when she was like, I feel like I'm settling if I'm going to get married to this one person. What if something else is out there, or someone else is out there? Like I said, it's just the never-ending cycle of just never being happy with one's life, you know? I don't really like Madelyn. We got that point across. So when we reached the 3-week period where Colby and Madelyn get back together, it was kind of interesting because Colby was the one that was really super serious about marrying Madelyn and, you know, all this stuff, but we find out that he's talking to other girls. And even though he cuts it off before, I guess, he realizes that, you know, when Madelyn comes back, like, she's still the one he wants to marry. Even though he cut it off around that time, it was still like, why are you talking to other girls anyway? Like, we never said we had broken up. You know what I mean? So it was just very strange. But regardless, when it came to Madelyn though, even though Colby had his faults and he was basically cheating, don't get me wrong, when it came to Madelyn, it was always like she found something wrong with every single thing that he did. Like, she was never in the wrong. I think it was just because of the whole he was talking to other girls thing. I think that's probably what happened, and then it just ended up kind of bleeding into everything else, because when it came to just little things, like, she would just be bringing it up as if it's something that's just super huge. So it was just rather strange, and she would always look at Randall as like this perfect dude, the perfect guy, the missing puzzle piece in her life, basically. But then when it came to Colby, it was like everything was just not right, you know? So that was strange. But either way, in the end, he ends up proposing, which I found strange because they actually had a fight like maybe a day before. So I guess he had to change her heart overnight. I don't know. But he proposed, but not only that, he ends up setting up a whole mini wedding for them to get married at the same time. Like, right after he proposed, they did this little setup and had an officiate, or is it an officiate? Yeah, someone to basically, you know, do the wedding and marry them right then and there. And I'm like, that takes away from the specialness. I already told my boyfriend, I'm like, we're not doing that. We're not eloping, we're not doing any of that. I want a wedding. I want my family there, friends there. Do not do that to me. I understood the spontaneousness and love, and you do just crazy things, but no, it's a no for me. Don't do that. We're gonna move on to Randall and Shanique. So Shanique was actually the one that gave the ultimatum, and in the beginning you could kind of see her getting super emotional about them going on to the show. Understandably so, because I mean, for y'all to do something like this, y'all must have reached an interesting breaking point. You know what I mean? Like, all the couples, for them to even feel like this was necessary, it's very interesting. But we're not gonna talk about that. But when they finally get on the show, Shanique was connecting with quite a few people, I thought. You know, Nathan thought he was one of those people, but No, that didn't happen. I can't remember if it was Zay who got up first and picked Shanique, or if it was Shanique that picked Zay first, but either way they picked each other. So Shanique goes off with Zay, and then Randall, like I said, goes off with Madelyn. And I already told you guys the gist of what pretty much transpired for the most part between Madelyn and Randall. I think, like I said, with that, Randall was definitely not as into Madelyn as Madelyn was into him. I'm just gonna be real with that one. I think it was more like a petty like, oh, you're cute type of thing, but not like a, I really like you. You know what I mean? It was just really weird on Madelyn's part because it looked like she was like a wild animal that just got released from the zoo. Honestly, when it came to Shanique and Zay, what I found so funny though is that both of them are pretty much the same. Not in terms of like how they would pop off, but the fact that they would pop off at the same points in conversations. Like whenever there was an issue, they would just pop off at each other. And it was just so interesting that there was no calming voice within either of them. Like they were both really immature the way they would attack certain situations. And when I say attack, I mean attack. Like not even approach, attack. So when it came to Randall, I think he was just such like the opposite when it came to Shanique. And I think that's why they worked as a couple to begin with. But I think that it kind of doesn't work in the end, because when it comes to them having that 3-week period and they try to work out their issues and actually talk to each other, Shanique would always find reasons to pop off at the mouth. And it was just like, girl, do you want him to answer your questions and tell you what he really thinks and feels? Or do you just want to ask just to ask and then insert your own answers and get mad? Like, I just don't understand. So it was just very strange watching them try to interact. And when I say try, I really mean try, because it was like forced conversations with Shanique. I feel like Randall, he would try his hardest to get her to understand things and explain, and it was just always confrontation. You know, it just felt like there was no way to even have an actual chit chat. Like there was always something happening and Shanique was always the one walking away. Like literally she would get up and walk away when Randall was trying to talk to her. So she was just really, really immature. And then when her and Zay were together for that period too, that's when I really noticed how immature she was as well. So that was interesting. Shanique actually comes from a Caribbean family as well. I don't know which Caribbean country exactly, I can't remember. I think they said Jamaican, I'm not sure, but either way, I know they're Caribbean, all right? And coming from a Caribbean family myself, I can tell you that they are going to ask the most direct, blunt questions, and they have no shame in the game. They feel as though you should be getting married after a certain point in time, because if you're not, you're just playing around, and we don't have time to be playing around, you know? So I can understand when Randall came back with Shanique and they had this little like seafood boil outside. The dad, you know, he was on Randall's behind, okay? He was on it. So I can understand, like with the Caribbean families, very intense, very intense. So that was funny. But in the end, Randall did end up proposing to Shanique. But what I found interesting though is that even though they still had problems, he still proposed. That's what gets me, is that even when it came to Colby and Madelyn, they just fought the day before and they don't even have a moment to even think. They're just like, yes, let's get married. And it's just like, what? And we find out in the reunion though that Shanique, I really wanted to talk about the reunion kind of at the end, but I just find it interesting that they propose but then they break up and then they get back together a few months before the reunion. So I'm just like, okay. Anyway, but moving on to Alexis and Hunter. So Alexis was the one that gave the ultimatum, and I feel like Hunter was more of that laid back type of guy, and Alexis was very much so an in-your-face type of person, go-getter personality, but it was just a little bit too much, you know? I just think she was a little too intense for anybody on this show when it came to trying to mix and mingle. She was trying to talk to Colby, but he was like, yeah, I don't really find you attractive. And then the delusion kind of stepped in where she was just like, you're just a mean person, you're a crappy person. And I'm like, because he didn't find you attractive? Sis, you sound crazy, literally. Like, Okay, so that was interesting in itself and was very telling when it came to trying to figure out her personality and why Hunter probably hasn't proposed up until this point. Okay, let's be specific, up until this point, because okay, remember I said there was another couple that got engaged before, who was this, Lauren and Nathan? So Alexis gets up and she pretty much realizes she doesn't have any connection with anybody and nobody's going to pick her, let's be real. She knows this. So that's why I think she chooses to have pretty much an emotional breakdown, and she looks at Hunter and is like, I don't want to date anybody else, like I just want to be with you type of way. And it was just so funny to me because I was like, wow. So you just pretty much go to your crocodile tears to get what you want. I give you that, sis. Well played, well played. So the manipulation was on 10, and Hunter looks at her and it's just like, yeah, I want you to, and gets down on one knee and proposes to this crazy woman. And I'm like, y'all deserve each other, because why? I would not have proposed. Literally, I would have taken that time to assess the whole situation and be like, oh wow, we really shouldn't be together. Yeah. But he just took that in a completely other direction and decided to propose. They got engaged, and for the entirety of the show they pretty much weren't seen. They had a little bit of a bachelorette party scene that was weird in itself. They pretty much aren't even in the show after this point, and Nathan and Lauren we don't see either. So that couple I don't really have much to say about, but those are my thoughts. But moving on to Nathan and Lauren, like I said, Nathan, after pretty much saying to Madelyn that he was going to choose her, decides to propose to Lauren. And I'm like, y'all come on the show first of all, because you've reached an ultimatum. Nathan wants to get married. He also wants to have kids, but Lauren doesn't want to have kids. And that's kind of the ultimate reason as to why they're at this crossroads where it's like, why get married to someone that doesn't want to do what you want to do? And as something as big as having a family and having kids, I feel like you guys should be on the same page. And to be fair, even up until the reunion, they still hadn't figured that part out. And it just felt like Nathan was just kind of being possessive in a way where he was just like, what's mine is mine, which is understandable. But it was just kind of like, why propose if you still haven't figured out the whole reason as to why you guys came on the show? You still are stuck at the same crossroad point. It didn't make sense. So Colby, of course, because he was about to pick Lauren, and before he could officially do that, Nathan decides to propose. So Colby definitely has this whole breakdown moment and is just going through it, you know, and they have this heated exchange talking about how we feel like your proposal was fake. April, of course, starts crying, making it about her. And it was like, girl, stay out of it. This is not about you. So regardless though, I find it rather odd. I just don't understand that one. I think with Nathan and Lauren, they're probably gonna reach a point where they're just like, you know what I want, and that's not gonna change. So I'm just gonna find someone else that, you know, can offer me and give me what I want. So I don't think they're gonna end up getting married for real. If they have, okay, great for them. But at the same time, when you have such a big problem like that in your relationship, and even though you could convince Lauren to just have the one child, it's like, are you gonna be satisfied with just the one child? You know what I mean? So there's just a lot that goes into that with that one. But we move on to April and Jake. I think that was the last couple. Yeah, and then I'm gonna talk about the reunion. I'm looking over here because I got my notes. I was making notes, y'all, writing them down as each episode played out. But April and Jake, right? April was the one that, okay, you guys, camera decided to die like mid-sentence, so I'm back. We were talking about April and Jake, right? So April, like I was pretty much saying, she gave the ultimatum to Jake, but like I said, when it came to Jake, I noticed it when he was with Rey in particular. They were really similar, and I think that's why they were ultimately attracted to each other and picked each other to be with for 3 weeks. I think they were both very unserious. I know Rey was the one to give an ultimatum, but I don't think she was serious. I felt like she just felt like, ooh, I have to, you know? But I don't think she was really ready for anything. And same thing with Jake. I think he was very, like, not an immature person like Zay or Shanique, but I think he was very much so not serious about the relationship that he was in. So when it came to April, she was a very much so intense person. And I noticed it when it came time to pick people. She had kind of this emotional reaction and breakdown pretty much to the whole situation between Colby and Nathan when he proposed to Lauren. But I really think obviously that wasn't necessarily her crying because of the whole situation, but it set her off. I think it was because number one, she just saw Jake pick Rey. Okay, that even though you're on the show for that reason, it could still hurt and, you know, mess with your emotions a little bit. But then at the same time, also Hunter, he pretty much declined her offer after she chose him, and he decides to propose to Alexis. So it was just two things back to back, almost like a double rejection in a way, or a double whammy. But I still don't understand why she was crying at the same time. But she just seemed like a very emotionally intense type of person. When it came to Alexis, she was just an intense person. When it came to April though, I feel like she was emotionally intense. So there was a difference. When it came to April and Colby, like I said, they kind of had to pick each other by default and be each other's option Bs after watching their girlfriend and boyfriend pick somebody else. So the 3-week period that they had to hang out and live with each other, it was pretty much just kind of like a friendship. It wasn't really anything serious or flirtatious in a way. So that was interesting watching them interact with each other. But when it came to Jake and Rey, I definitely think they were doing stuff for sure. Kissing was just like the surface that we saw, but I definitely think they did the deed. I'm just going to be real here. I know Rey said that they didn't do anything, but you don't just film someone shaking their butt in a club, keep it on your phone. Y'all are living together now and you don't touch her? Y'all don't do anything? Get out of here. We're just going to continue on with April and Jake, right? So when April and Jake pretty much get back together for that other period before proposal or not, we find out, of course, that Jake has this video footage on his phone of Rey, like I said. And of course, rightfully so, April is pissed because she's just like, what the hell? Why is this even on your phone? You know? So that in itself, I have to be on April's side because it's like, why the hell is this on your phone? And even though it was wrong for her to check it, why is it on your phone? You know, I would just like to know. But anyways, he was trying super hard to clean it up and explain, but it was like, there ain't no explaining that one, buddy. Let it go. You were caught. In the end, April pretty much ends up walking away because she was like, you know what? I'm serious. Like, if you don't propose, I'm leaving. So Jake was like, yeah, I'm not ready. And like I said, he's not a serious type of person. So of course he wasn't going to be ready. I knew from the jump he was not going to propose to April. So I don't even know why she even bothered showing up. Like, I think she knew in her heart of hearts that this man was not gonna ever propose. Even at the reunion, she ends up finding someone else apparently. We find out that was nice, okay, that she found someone hopefully that is taking her as serious as maybe she takes them, okay, and they actually give her what she wants, which is marriage ultimately. But I think with Jake, it's probably gonna be another decade or so for him to get his stuff together and actually be serious about a girl enough to propose. Like I was saying, Rey and Jake, they were entangled with each other. Like Jada said, entanglement, okay? They were entangled, but it wasn't anything serious. And that's why even in the end, after April walks away and, you know, Rey comes out of nowhere for some strange reason. I don't know if he summoned her or what. That was just weird. I'm like, was she just waiting in the wings, you know, to just come? Regardless, she comes and he's just like, I have these plane tickets. We could just go away and spend some time getting to know each other more. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you guys got to know each other a lot. Okay, in that 3 weeks that y'all had together. Let's be real. So in the reunion, we find out that Madelyn and Colby are actually expecting their first child, which that was interesting. Mainly because Madelyn came onto the show pretty much saying that I was gonna be missing out on life if I marry Colby and blah, blah, blah. And now y'all having a whole family together and it's just very strange. She did not strike me as the type of person that would do something like that. So yeah, that was a surprise. Also, Rey and Zay were still messing with each other. Like, girl, y'all literally have the most explosive blow up breakup situation and y'all still messing with each other. That just shows you how toxic people could really just continue to see each other even though they know they aren't good for each other. It's just like once the sex is good, you know what I mean? Like they'll just keep going. It's just crazy to me. Addiction is a real thing, okay? Let's just say that addiction is real, okay? But what I found crazy though is that when Zay brought it up, Rey was trying to play it off like, I don't know what you're talking about type of way. Like, it wasn't that serious. So it went from pretty much like, I don't know what you're talking about to it wasn't that serious. And it's just like, wow. But I thought y'all was broken up though. Okay, ma'am. Okay. We move on to Shanique and Randall. Like I was pretty much implying, they had gotten engaged at the end of the show, but after the show wrapped, they spent a little bit of time together and then they broke up, said they needed to find each other, okay, take a break. Even after all of this mess, all of this, like all these intense feelings that Shanique was saying that she had, the pressure, okay, that she was putting on Randall to get engaged. All of this for you guys to now find yourself. Okay, so once he proposes, you need to now find yourself. So that means you weren't even ready, sis. You weren't even ready for what you were asking for. Child, that, we could talk about that in the Sit Down Sundays episode, but it's like a lot of people be asking for things and they not even ready for it. Like literally not ready, not mentally or physically ready, you know? We gonna move on from that situation. They ended up getting back together, which, okay, great for them, but it's like, okay, now what? You know, but whatever. Nathan and Lauren, like I said, they pretty much decided to come to a compromise and have one child, but I think the issue lies in the fact that it almost feels as though they're compromising their core and what they actually really want. Yes, your wants can change, but at the end of the day, you're still the type of person that you're going to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't really think your wants are gonna change all that much. Even if you have the one child, I feel like there's a good chance that she's not gonna want any more, you know? Because she already compromised to have the one. So, yeah. I just hope they know what they're doing. I really don't think they're gonna end up getting married. I don't even think they're gonna even reach the point of having one kid. I'm just gonna be real. I think it's gonna become too much and they're gonna realize that hopefully sooner rather than later. But either way, they're gonna realize it, you know? That is pretty much all that I had to say about the couples when it came to the reunion specifically, because when it came to Nathan and, what's her name again? Alexis? Jeez, I already can't even remember her name. I'm so sorry. But when it came to Nathan and Alexis, there wasn't really much to say. I don't even think they got married yet at that point. Even though the reunion came a whole year after they had shot the show, I still don't think they got married. I think they're still just engaged. I don't know. But anyways, so I don't know what's going on there. If they are married and I'm wrong, let me know, but I believe they're still just engaged. Yeah, but I have to be honest, they weren't really that relevant to the plot of the show. The couples that had my attention was probably Rey and Zay and then Randall and Shanique. I didn't really care about April and Jake and what's the other couple again? Colby and Madelyn. I'm just gonna be real. Like, I don't feel like they were that interesting. The Rey and Zay situation was very interesting because I feel like they were just polar opposites, and the same thing goes for Shanique and Randall. Yes, opposites attract, but sometimes they could also destroy each other. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that show. It was hella messy, but I think it was very much so needed in those couples' lives to just hold up a mirror and be like, you're really just dysfunctional. That's why you can't get engaged, because you shouldn't be engaged, period. So those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, smash the like button down below. Let me know what other shows you'd like me to check out and pretty much talk about here on the channel down in the comments. Remember to follow me on all of my socials. You could also message me over there as well, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.